Hey there, folks. My first time here. I cannot believe I haven't gone before. You'll see me around. These are definitely my people here. Clev and I, we got good news. If anybody goes to Money 2020 in Vegas, Clev and I are on a panel there. We'll see you there. NCUA, if you don't know, is like FDIC, but for America's 4,600 credit unions. We provide the same exact, $250,000 in account insurance, also the regulator for 2/3 of them, of credit unions in this country. The rest are state charter. The largest one you may know of is Navy Federal. Back to 2020, when I was going through the Senate confirmation process, digital assets was one of 3 priorities that I mentioned. And I've put a lot of my capital at the agency, and almost my entire time has been with the Democratic chairman across the aisle. I'm a Republican appointee, and I've had to eat some stuff to get digital asset stuff across the line. I've had to, deal within the agency and trade away some things that were less of a priority. We're the only agency that I know of the financial regulators, 7 of them, depending on how you count, that not only is not openly hostile, but has put positive guidance. 2.5 pieces, I'll say 2.5 because one of them's more of an FAQ, of positive guidance. Put out 2 pieces of positive guidance in 2022. By the way, that's 2 more pieces of positive guidance than most of the other agencies have put out. Broad-based stuff, and I'll be bipartisan here for a second. One of them was basically, hey, there's this thing called crypto. It is new. It will have uses, some of which we know. And it was general, and it was principles. And here's the bipartisan bit. I modeled it after what I consider to be the best economic policy in America since I've been alive, in terms of jobs, in terms of incomes. And that was 1997, Clinton Gore. It's just my personal opinion. Clinton Gore put up principles for this new thing called the internet. You can Google it. It's a trip to read it now. Information superhighway, that's what Al Gore called it. And the number 1 was private sector shall lead. You know what happened next, right? We won the internet. America got the most jobs, the highest investment returns, the most headquarters, et cetera. We got all the negative. And I had a conversation with a Bloomberg reporter. It's like, aren't you worried you're gonna let credit unions use crypto and digital assets and blockchain? Are you worried there's gonna be problems? I said, well, I know there's gonna be problems. I don't worry. I know that for a fact. I know that up front. Name me any new technology that did not have widespread negatives associated with it. Did you guys know there were 0 plane crashes before we had planes? No, thousands of years. You can read the whole Old Testament, New Testament, there's not 1 plane crash, right? But we don't take horses across country anymore. And I've had to deal with a lot of stick internally about what you said, illicit finance, criminal, and I have to say, listen, if you guys think crypto is often used by criminals, you're gonna freak out when you hear about cash. And one of my other 3 priorities, by the way, is very germane to this. One of the other 3 priorities was how hard it is to start a new credit union. It takes many years, right? There are affiliate groups, often immigrant groups. There's ones in Florida where they speak Haitian Creole, et cetera. And just like digital assets, starting a new credit union for a group that is not satisfied with financial services providers they have now is both about financial inclusion, okay? And I want to say one more thing. Next Friday, August 2nd, in 2025, is the end of my term. So I'm here to get ideas now, later, whenever, of anything we can put out. When I said 2.5 pieces of guidance, the half was just an FAQ, a state charter credit union. That's about 1,500 credit unions in this country. Are we allowed to hold custody? Are we allowed to hold digital assets as custody? SEC thing does not apply to credit unions. And so we just said, the short answer is yes, but talk to your state regulator, okay? That was just answering a question like what day of the week it is. So it wasn't anything really new, but it still is a signaling effect. So there's a lot of tools as a regulator, besides rulemakings, you can do to signal that things are okay and not thought poorly of. You saw what the banking regulators put out, and I'm proud that NCUA did not sign on to this 3 years ago. Fed, FDIC, OCC. You must get written notice of non-disapproval for anything involving crypto, digital ledger, okay? And they said, oh, no, we just want to get a heads up. But obviously that sends a negative signal. You don't have to get written notice of non-disapproval for lots of other things. I will give the OCC credit for having a tokenization symposium this year, real world assets. But again, those are many of the same projects that people shelved 3 years ago. So there's a lot of mechanisms. Speaking like this, again, FAQ, just answering questions, that sort of thing we can do. And I enjoyed Christian and the gentleman that had the polling information. Justin, because if you guys remember the first .com boom, and I've been saying this since last year, but this is not a bold prediction by any means. This is the first election for president where AI and crypto are actual issues. I was Mitt Romney's financial policy staff for 2011, 2012 in that failed effort. And we didn't have to have policy briefings on crypto back then. When I think back 2011, 2012, it wasn't on our radar. My main thought is I wish I bought Bitcoin back then. But you have to this year, and it reminds me of the 2000 cycle. In the primary, you had Bradley against Gore. Gore was already out front on the internet. And then the Bush-McCain debate, okay? It's the first time you had to have a section of your website on internet policy. It's the first time you had to have a staffer, like I was for Romney, to answer questions, because you were going to be asked about it at town halls, on radio, at debates. It was the first time. It was also the first time you could accept money. People actually raised money on the internet. McCain 2000, his primary run, if you guys remember this, was the first time you had a website on your bumper stickers and your signs, because he raised a whole bunch of money. If you want to get politicians' attention, have a way to raise money on it. The same way this past cycle, Tim Scott and some others had to accept crypto. And then by the general election, 2000, everybody had their website everywhere, both Bush and Gore, and they were asked about it live on stage. And when the earlier speakers were talking, it reminded me of that 2000 cycle. And this is just for fun. It's a 30-second clip I wanted to show. And the main thing is that it was new, and look at the language they use. And I think years from now, when we look back at politicians now being asked about crypto and digital assets, my guess is the phrasing is going to be weird. You know how a young person, if you tell them you had to return a movie, and they're like, how do you return a movie to Netflix? Like, and how can you do it late? Like, the language is different. Could you play that for a minute? I just thought it was fascinating. This is primary debate, then Governor Bush against Senator McCain, if you can get this up. The phrasing is what trips me out. We don't even speak this way anymore. Judy Woodruff from PBS was a moderator. You think we'll be able to get that up, Paul?
I put my contributors on the internet for people to see. I believe in full disclosure, and I think all candidates ought to do that.
Do you go online?
Yeah, I do. I email back and forth. Emailed my mother the other day, as a matter of fact. She told me to stand straight, by the way, when I was at your debate.
How familiar are you with the World Wide Web?
I'm familiar. I can click around and surf around, but you know,
like, we don't speak that way anymore. Like, I don't know, are you online right now? I don't know, I have like 100 apps on my phone. They're probably running in the background. Am I online? And just the way they spoke about it was fascinating. I think that's obviously going to be different. It's not a bold prediction, but we're going to look back at it the same way. If you read that 1997 Clinton-Gore guidance, it is just a trip, the language they use and the way they speak about it. It was clear the internet was a series of magazine pages where you read stuff. It was just very different. Oh yeah, you got this. I just think this thing is a trip. It's a moment in time. I had Natalie, my assistant, bring it up. She was born in 1998. Watching this is like going back in time, the 1912 presidential debate where they had to discuss the automobile. Teddy Roosevelt, first president to have a motorcade. First time I had it. That's what this lines up. Thank you guys. Kyle Hauptman. See you.